So recording this now so you guys can watch this back. What I'm going to do right now is go over my favorite reports. This is for my personal trading style, and this is mostly for scalping and day trading. So this is the list right here. I highly recommend, I'm just repeating what I just said, but I highly recommend that you guys bookmark your reports. You can screenshot this so you have it, but make sure to go to the Discover page and bookmark all of these reports from here. But now going back to the gap fill right over here. The gap fill, for those of you who don't know, is when price today let me find a decent example here. When price today reverses back to touch the previous session's closing price. So if we go here and we look on, I know that YM did it, but NQ didn't do it today, but let's just look anyway. The gap fill is honestly one of my personal favorites, and I want to, right here is a good example. So this was actually February 24th, a few days ago. And if you go to the previous session's close, right over here, you're going to see previous session's close right here. Now, this is the New York session. Can you add the info about the time of close you use, for example, using futures? Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. Let's just take a step back and refer to the New York session for a second. The reason that and the reason that we have this defaulted, the session to be 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. is because that is when the equity sessions close. So like the majority of the money that flows through the stock market or to the markets in general is through the equity markets, and that is from 9:30 to 4 p.m. So I personally want to be trading the times that have the most volume because it avoids the choppier price action. So for example, here, this is the Asian session, and not that there's anything wrong with the Asian session, obviously. It doesn't suit my trading style. So you can see right over here, and if I go to my indicator, I'll turn on the actual Asian range. You can see that the range here is very small. And that is because the volume is low. This is not the New York session. And I personally don't do well in choppier environments or environments that don't have as much momentum. So that's why I like to trade in the New York session. Now the reason, again, that we close at 4 p.m. instead of 4:15 is just because it's the regular cash session of equities. Now, if you want, you can just go here to the choose session number 6 on your sidebar and just create a custom session. And then you can you can add a new one right here. I already have one. But if you call it futures RTH, you change the end time to be 4:15. You click save. And now you just have to make sure you click on your 4:15 end time. And now you can see what the stats are. Now, what is extremely important about these sessions and about what you're actually looking at is you have to make sure that you update this edgeful market sessions indicator to match what you have in edgeful. So, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, we have 35 indicators that you can get on your TradingView as part of your edgeful plan. If you go right here off to the right side and you click on this, you're going to see this pop-up come up and you're going to put your TradingView username in here. When you do that, you're going to have in your invite only section up here, so you go to your indicators, invite only, all these are going to appear. Now, the one that outlines the sessions is the market sessions indicator. And what's really important now is that I'm using a 4:15 close, which is going to change my previous session's closing price, obviously. So you see this yellow line here is for my regular 4 p.m. close. Now I'm going to go here. I'm going to change this to be 4:15. And you're going to see, well, it's pretty close this time, but it is different. You're going to see that my 4:15 close, and I'll make this green, or I'll make it red, is different. So you have now changed the time or the previous close of the session. when you do this. So if I change this to be 3 p.m., let's just say, let's use an extreme example. If I change this to be, let's just say even 1 p.m. Eastern time, let's use an extreme example. And I go here, whatever. So using a 1 p.m. example here, now I'm going to go here, I'm going to go to my 1 p.m., I'm changing my session, and now what happens is my previous close moves to this point here, and I'll make this blue. So now you can see that in this case, when you're using these sessions here, this is the regular 4 p.m. session, this is the 4:15 session close, we have a gap up because price today opened above these 2 points, and this is the opening price. I'm going to highlight this and make it green so you see where the open is. So this is today's open. There was obviously a gap up from here to here, and I'll make this yellow to match, and then I'm going to do from here to here red to match so you can see exactly where the gaps are. And then now from here to here is blue, and it's a gap down. So when you change the sessions, you are literally filtering out all of the data between the sessions. So you are only looking at the price action within these blue boxes when you do this. This is literally a filter on the price action. So it's extremely important that you guys know what session you're looking at. It's defaulted to New York. 90% of you are going to be looking at the New York session anyway, so you don't have to worry. But it is very important that you understand what the implications of changing the sessions are. So if you guys are looking at London, for example, and let me reset this to be at 4 p.m. So you can see right here we have the New York session selected, and I'm going to clear this. But let's say you're a London trader. I'm going to go here and I'm going to turn on my London session. I turned off my New York session. You're going to see these green boxes appear. So my gap fill becomes the close of the previous session right over here to the open of this session here, which is obviously a gap down because price today opened below the previous session's close. Super, super important that you understand what the sessions you're looking at are. Almost universally, the sessions that we have in here are going to be, or the reports that we have in here are going to be limited by the session time. So let's say you're looking at the initial bounce, right? 82% of the time, price is going to break out of one side of the initial bounce in the New York session. So let's go to the New York session here. Let's turn on our initial bounce indicator right over here. This is automatically going to plot the high and the low of the IB for you. Let me try to find a different example. Perfect. Right here. So this example right here, this is February 18th. You can see within this blue box, price only broke to the downside of the IB. It did it here. It did it here. And it did it here. Because we're only looking at the data within the New York session from 9:30 to 4 p.m. Eastern time, or New York time. Now, let's just pretend, so I don't have to go and search for an example, that the total day was from here to here, let's just say, right? Now you can see that after the New York session, price ended up breaking the IB high here, which would count as a double break. But it's not going to be a double break because price only broke the downside of this IB within the New York session. So let's look at a different example here where it broke later in the day. Okay. So in this case, you can see that my IB is this red line and this green line, the high and the low of the first hour. You can see at 3:45, right at the close, price broke to the downside. So this counts as a single break day. because we're looking from here to here. Price did, in fact, break the IB low right here. Now, if I changed my session to end at 3 p.m. instead of 4 p.m., this day now becomes a no-break day because I have changed the close of my session to be here. Right? You are filtering out the data before and after the session. When you select, in this case, if we had created from 9:30 to 3 p.m. This is extremely, extremely important. If you guys have any thoughts or questions, or you forget what this means, this video here, How Do Sessions Work, is the one that you're going to reference. This is on every single report across all of edgeful, so I highly recommend that you go here and watch this. It's very similar to what I'm doing now. I'm just giving you different examples. But the session that you have selected is extremely important. And almost universally, the reports that we have, the criteria, if it's like, did this happen or did it not happen, is within the session you're looking at. So for example, the gap fill, let's just go back because this is an easy example, is did it fill or did it not fill within this New York session? If it fills 3 days later or if it fills after the session close, it doesn't matter, right? It does not matter. So like, let's just say, let's find a day where the gap didn't fill right here. And let's hide that. So in this case, our target was right here. Previous session's closed, right? This green line is our target. There's a gap down. You want to target this as a gap fill. So this is a day that did not fill the gap, obviously. If price does this, right? Price does this, and then it does that, and then it does that, and then it does this, and then the session closes. So right here, the session closed, and then price did this later. This is not going to count as a gap fill because it did not happen within the data that you're looking at. So this is extremely important. Chris Trader sent a message here. What did he say? Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that. So yeah, in terms of the sessions, this is extremely important. Now, I just went off on a little bit of a tangent explaining the sessions, but this is extremely important. And we do have a video on this on every single report right down here. So if you ever need to revisit this, go right here. Now, for the most popular reports, the ones that I like, you're going to want to screenshot this. I know I said this before, but you're going to want to screenshot this and use this as your guide if you're a scalper or a day trader for reports that you like. Now, each of these reports have sub-reports, which means that if you go to this number 7 here, these are filters on the report. So this means that you can filter the gap fill on NQ or on any ticker by size, by weekday, by time, by whatever you want. These are very important for you to go through, specifically the by size and by weekday variance when you are able to. Does anyone have any questions on that? Yep, there it is. There's that video. Thanks, team, for putting that link in there. But in this case, I like to use the gap fill as a bias and a target every day. We have the what's in play here that will give me all the live stats every single day. So you can just have this open. You don't really have to do anything. You can just understand right from here what this report is saying. So now if I go back to the report, you can see right over here, it's also going to populate right here. And this, the way that I like to use this is a bias and a target typically, and I'm not going to say typically because recently the odds have dropped off a pretty decent amount, but certain tickers or certain sessions will have high stats for this. Some 70, some 75%. That's where you can target the previous day's close. This is something that I personally really like, so I look at it even though the stats aren't great right now. The opening range breakout and the initial balance are two reports that set up every single day. It's just the high and the low of the first 15 minutes and the first hour. So if you go here, you can see this is the high and the low of the first hour. You can see right here, this is what is actually going on today. For the outside days report, and I highly recommend that you guys actually go to these reports and watch these videos. They have like the full explanation. And just so everyone knows, we're going to be remaking, or I'm going to be remaking all these videos to account for the new layout, number one, but also all the customizations and all the other stuff that we added. So outside days, this is for every time price opens outside of yesterday's range. How often will it retrace back into yesterday's range? Now, we haven't had too many of them actually set up. Actually, we did right here. Just in terms of a quick explainer of what this is, you can see today's open was right here, and previous day's high was right here. You can see, I mean, this is tiny, but price opened outside of yesterday's range. This report measures how often does it reverse back into the range. Opening candle continuation is a report that tells you how often, if the first hour of the session is green, how often will the day close green. Previous day's range is a report that will tell you if we break previous day's high, how often will price close green today. If we break previous day's low, how often will price close red. So you can see here, I'm going to clean this up. Previous day's low was broken, price closed red. Previous day's low is again right here, broken, price closed red. Previous day's low was broken, price closed red. So that's the previous day's range report. Market session breakout, market session correlation. Compare the London to the New York session, or any session you want. You can compare anything. Really recommend checking those out. And then the ICT opening retracement. This is something that marks how often price will retrace back to the midnight opening price at some point within the session. So we also have an indicator for this, like we do for most reports. And you can see right here, price opened below the midnight opening price and retrace back to touch that. This indicator will automatically plot for you all of the midnight opening prices. The power hour breakout, we have an indicator for this as well. And where is it? Power hour breakout. What this measures is how often is a new high of day or a new low of day made during power hour. So you can see right over here, the indicator will plot out the high of day and the low of day. And you can see right here, price did not make a new high or a new low of day in this session. And then finally, the inside bars. What this one is going to show you is how often, when the New York session opens within the previous session's range, which I'll show you how to measure that right now, how often will it break out? So like right here, you can see that price opened within the previous session's range. Previous session's range is right here. Oh, sorry about that. Right here, you can see this opened within the previous session's range, and price did end up breaking out. You don't need to start with all of these, but these are good ones to start with. These are definitely the most popular ones that we have. I recommend checking by weekday, checking by size. I recommend going through, honestly, just the sub-reports. They are very important, and they can have a drastic impact on the data. So I do recommend checking that out. We are up on time today. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you guys have a great trading day. Let's see what NVIDIA does for earnings today. Obviously, nobody knows. If you're trading options, be careful with the IV crush. Just something to mention. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Have a good one.